Welcome to the Configure Price Quote Podcast. My name is Sohn and I'm the founder of Zuora CPQ Consulting. This podcast is 100% focused on Configure Price Quote, also known as CPQ, and will provide you useful insights into this topic. My guest today is Calvin Chow, Senior Director at Slalom Consulting. We will explore how companies are transforming their quote-to-cash operations with Salesforce Revenue Cloud. We discuss the business case from moving from Salesforce CPQ to Revenue Cloud, which is now also called Agentforce Revenue Management, so ARM, different names. Anyway, lessons learned from real-world migration projects and the growing importance of usage-based pricing models. Calvin also shares insights on Agentforce, AI-driven pricing, and how organizations can prepare for the next wave of intelligent revenue management. Calvin is based in Dallas, Fort Worth, and has over 15 years of business experience with firms like Walmart, Dell, Deloitte, Accenture, and he has also spent time with Zuora. Welcome to the CPQ Podcast, Calvin.
Thanks for having me, Frank.
I'm super excited to have you back again after a couple of years, right? I would like to start by asking you to tell me a little bit more about yourself and what you did before you joined Slalom.
Sure. Before I joined Slalom, I spent most of my career helping organizations to make money faster through modern pricing, as well as revenue operation, including transforming company from transaction-based to subscription-based models. And I work closely with C-level executives to translate their business strategy into scalable systems, leading solution architecture, data migrations, as well as large program delivery initiatives.
Excellent. And what is for you personally the most exciting part right now in the CPQ space?
I think CPQ has really expanded its capabilities. It's no longer just a sales tool. It becomes the company's monetization strategy. And then you really have the end-to-end capability of conversion, both CPQ, billing, AI, all these capabilities are really combining together. And really, companies are reinventing their business model faster than ever. Having the right tool right now will be able to accelerate their transformation.
Excellent. And you have lots of experience. And what I wonder is with someone like that, right? What's one thing you wish you would have known when you began your career that you didn't know? Is there anything that comes to mind?
I think for one thing that really, if I look back, early in my career, I think I wish I know is understanding the whole end-to-end process, including cash. Because as I beginning my career, I was really focusing on more in the logistics space. It wasn't really part of my passion. Really discovering quota cash allowed me to understand how company make money, which is really my passion, and you really help to see all the results that I've been able to build for different companies. Really entice me to actually spend more time into quota cash.
And you have lots of experience in different CPQ solutions. So tell me, please, what solutions did you work with so far?
I've worked with a lot of different CPQ systems in the past. I work with Pros. I work with Zuora CPQ. I work with Vlocity CPQ. I work with Salesforce CPQ, obviously. And then I work with Conga CPQ. I think all of them have different flavor, but obviously the core is the same. But they have all a little bit different functionality for different industries. Choosing the right tool will definitely help company to accelerate the use cases.
Excellent. Before we talk more about CPQ, one non-CPQ question is, what do you like to do when you don't work?
I am a coffee connoisseur. I like to. I'm trying to become a barista when I retire. I'm always like to try different types of coffees and different styles of coffee, and this a passion of mine. And trying to make coffee for my wife every day, so it can give me some time to practice. So that's part of what I enjoy outside of work.
Wow, that's I think the first time I heard that was the coffee. How long have you been doing that?
Actually, I did it by accident. It was right before COVID happened, and there was a machine available that it was an expensive machine that was available, and then I purchased it, and then obviously COVID shut everything down, so I have to practice my coffee art at home. So, since I cannot go out, so I was able to really start practicing since COVID started, so 2020.
Wow. So, and you're still sticking with it. That's impressive. Very cool. But one thing I have to ask also, since you brought it up, so you already talk about retirement. Aren't you a little bit young to talk about retirement?
Oh, I mean, there's always, important to think about, what you're going to do in the future because, consulting is like, cannot last forever. So, just trying to think of ways that I can, have a second career after my consulting career.
Excellent. At least I think it shows every listener that you're thinking long term. So that's very good for a consultant, I guess. Excellent. So, but then let's go ahead and switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about Slalom, right? And tell me a little bit more about what quote to cash and CPQ related consulting services Slalom offers shortly. Yep.
Some offer the end-to-end lifecycle from strategy definitions to process improvement, all the way to data migration, testing, adoptions, change management. We are a full service consulting firm, and we work across different industries and geographies. And then I would say our focus customer base is more on the mid-sized to large enterprise customers. Yeah.
And clarify for our listeners also what that means to you, mid to large size. Large to me is everything above 1 billion. What is like this mid size for you?
Yeah, large is like more like the Fortune 500. I would say the a little bit more like 500 million to several billion. Those will be the mid-sized company.
Okay, very cool. So that's an interesting definition, especially for Europeans, I guess. So when they have multiple billion, and it's still mid-size. Anyway, got it. Now let's look at the move from Salesforce to from Salesforce CPQ to RCA, or now called ARM, right? So Agentforce Revenue Management. What key business drivers are motivating companies to move from Salesforce CPQ to Revenue Cloud today based on your experience with your customers?
I would think that there are five biggest technical driver that I've seen. The first one is reducing technical debt from heavily customized CPQ org. I've seen companies, they, trying to customize a lot on the CPQ, and it just becomes really unusable and it's really hard to manage. That's what I've seen in the past. And then from a scalability standpoint, for using different subscriptions or usage type models is also a reason for migrating to RCA. They have a lot more features that is really focusing on that area. And then using native automations instead of a lot of coding, in RCA, they already have pre-built template for you to allow you to do your business without a lot of customization and Apex codes that really help accelerate your process. From a data perspective, Salesforce CPQ was a managed package, and RCA is built on a native platform. So it allows you to have a holistic data all across your quote, your order, your billing, and then analytics within all in Salesforce ecosystem. And then also AI and Agentforce enablement, which is a lot easier using the RCA instead of using Salesforce CPQ because it's more native to the platform. So these are the five factors that I've seen really reason that business is trying to push to migrate from CPQ to RCA.
Got it, got it. And when you evaluate the transition, what are the most common ROI or metrics or success measures, whatever you want to call it, you look at?
Again, the probably four factor that we've seen from a quote turnaround perspective, how much time you actually get through the quoting process, and then deal size and close rate, and then also from a renewal rate as well as a net retention rate, and then also the turnaround time on the approval process. These are the different metrics that we looked at when we were measuring ROI.
Excellent. And when you also help customers to justify the investment, I guess, right? So, and especially those with heavily customized legacy CPQ setups, what do you tell them?
From a scalability limit standpoint, I've seen customers that they have used Salesforce CPQ, they have over 500 code lines, and then they face heap size issues or take very long time for the legacy CPQ to respond. And then from an end-to-end perspective, Revenue Cloud has contracts, dynamic revenue orchestrator capability that was usually sits outside of CPQ, and then that really helps to drive the end-to-end capability of Revenue Cloud. And then from an API perspective, the RCA has a lot more robust API that you can leverage versus Salesforce CPQ. And then from a future state enablement or scalability perspective, you can build again AI agents and data cloud that you can basically invest all your data within one single platform with a lot of integrations involved. So that's the reason to move to RCA.
And you have done a couple of these transitions so far, I guess, right?
Yes.
So how many have you done so far?
I'll say less than 10, but yeah, I think close to 10.
Excellent. What would you say? What are the top 3 lessons that you've learned so far from these transitions?
From a experience standpoint, since Salesforce CPQ and Revenue Cloud is really different in terms of what they were trying to target. Revenue Cloud is like more comprehensive platform. So yeah, and then again, like from an experience standpoint, it's more focusing on sales itself on the legacy CPQ. And if you think about the again what I just talked about agents, you can leverage against your Revenue Cloud implementations. So you have to think about like from a investment standpoint to enable your agent to actually handle the sales process to reduce the dependency and drive the sales activities to minimize that and then to achieve your return on investment. So instead of migrating all the existing Salesforce CPQ product rules, trying to have the agents in mind, basically enrich your product data or your pricing data to actually have the agent to actually able to understand and understand how to configure, how to set prices, instead of thinking of from a sales perspective, think about the agent perspective. And then second thing I learned is align your pricing strategy before you actually start the building process in RCA. RCA should reflect where your future state pricing process is going to be. And then, because CPQ was really heavy depending on price rules, but RCA is actually more comprehensive. It gives you a lot of more flexibilities in terms of pricing. So it basically spans across context-efficient pricing procedures, decision tables, which can be complex to adjust mid-project. So establish a clear pricing strategy early in the project will reduce the rework and then accelerate timeline and really have a smoother implementation process.
Excellent. In addition to that, I guess there are also organizational or change management factors that tend to make or break these transitions. What's the lesson there so far?
I think first of all, you have to align on the sponsorship because RCA again is more comprehensive, so you actually have a lot more stakeholders involved. So in order for them to have a representation across different areas in the business will help accelerate the change management and adoptions for your RCA implementations. And also from a training perspective, again, since the user experience is very different for different type of users in Revenue Cloud, so you have to make sure the training materials is really adapt to the what the user experience is going to be. And then because RCA is a somewhat infant product right now, there will be a lot of limitations and product releases going to come up that can solve some of your issues. So make sure you communicate that information proactively throughout the project so to keep the stakeholder informed, engaged with the Salesforce product team where necessary to reduce the anxiety of the trying to go to customized route.
Got it. And then one last question here. If you could advise any Salesforce CPQ customer considering migration right now, what's the one thing you tell them not to overlook?
One thing will be the most important thing come to mind is data migration. Because the way that Salesforce CPQ handles transactional data is very different from RCA. So RCA transaction data means like your quote order asset is not really a simple task to tackle. The object model, for example, asset is not just a flat structure in one object. It actually span across three different objects. Really having a frank conversation early and often to make sure you are migrating just the active asset or you're migrating in-flight quote or how much historical data you actually want to bring into RCA as the timeline effort for migration is going to change drastically depending on what you're trying to migrate.
Are you evaluating CPQ solutions? The Novo CPQ briefing subscription gives you vendor-neutral briefs you can read in minutes. They are built for the early step of selection, moving from a long list to a focused shortlist of 5 to 10 vendors. Each brief explains capabilities, where it fits, and what to watch out for. No hype. Many subscribers pair the briefs with AI tools like ChatGPT or Gemini to search faster and compare options. If you want clarity before RFPs and demos start, learn more at novocpq.com/cpq-briefing-subscription. Shortlist faster. How do usage-based or consumption models change the way organizations need to think about quoting and billing from your perspective?
The way that usage, I think selling is very important because a lot of salespeople is not really used to how to sell usage-based model. They have to be educated and enabled in order to really communicate that information to the customer. I think that's from a business perspective. From a technology perspective, customer need to have a way to actually track their usage real time so they know how much they have spent in order to understand how much it's going to cost them. And then from a pricing structure perspective, there are tiers and minimums, volume pools, thresholds that it will be in new terms to educate the customers to make sure they understand what is the the usage model looks like. And then also having data accuracies across your metering system and then your volume of data that is going to come into your billing system will be important to consider. And then also from a organization perspective, you have to make sure you have your right alignment across your product team, your pricing team, as well as your finance team to make sure like the data is going to be very different from what they have seen in the past.
Got it. Now, since you're at Slalom and Slalom is working with multiple vendors, not just Salesforce, right? So I was wondering, from your point of view, how mature is Salesforce current support for metering and usage rating compared to other vendors in the market that you also potentially work with?
I think from a revenue cloud billing perspective, it is maturing very quickly. I would say you handle most of the simple use case for metering and usage rating. But if there's a complex scenario, we have worked with other vendor to actually handle those complex scenarios. But you can still service all those information within Salesforce to allow easier manage of different systems to be all in one Salesforce platform. So.
Let me ask a dumb question here. So what is considered easy usage-based pricing scenario? If you would have an example, what is that for you?
Again, if you have one price that's being set and then this is the rate that you're gonna charge, that will be considered a very straightforward scenario. If you have again like different tiers, like different like time frame that you want to charge different prices, those will be the more complex scenario that you have to have your metering in place in order for your usage billing to be work properly.
Now, then let's go to Agentforce in Revenue Cloud. And in practical terms, what use case excite your clients most about using agents to support quoting or pricing workflows?
I've seen different agents being built for Revenue Cloud. I think the most important one that I've seen is really creating new quote based on activities or transcripts. That will alleviate a lot of the time that's being spent on creating new quotes. And then for a renewal perspective, also like if you are not going to make a lot of changes during your renewal process, you might as well having the renewal agent do that activity for you. And then also seen product recommendation or pricing recommendation agent. Basically if you add a product, the agent will be able to recommend additional product to add, or based on historical quoting data, they can also recommend different prices. I think those are agents that I've seen that really excites the client.
Excellent. And how do you see Agentforce changing the way sales or service teams interact with Revenue Cloud?
From a I guess from a sales standpoint, agent will change the role of the sales. You can think of agent almost like a helper, like they can do the mundane task for you. So the sales will become more of a reviewer to review, hey, if the what the agent come up with is actually accurate, and do they need to make additional update, to basically reduce the burden on the sales itself.
Hmm. So you think it's going to be more working alongside humans in this case, or you think it's going to replace them more long term based on what you see?
I'm hesitant to say that agent will replace human completely, because I've most of the use case I've seen is like they're more complementary
Hmm.
to the sales, where they will again handle the more difficult or mundane task. From a for example, like if it's really a low volume or low value quote, you can really using an agent to handle. I see some of that use case can be built in the future scenario, but from the customer that I've seen, they more so they are interested in the simple task that is being handled by agent.
Hmm. And I guess what I'm interested in, I guess most customers as well, is what's hype, what's real. From your point of view, let's look at some data points. Like for example, how many customers really use AI in their projects right now with CPQ? I mean, that they use AI is no question, but with CPQ, how important is that really for you right now?
I think that's the main, basically the return on investment right now, right? Because if you think about, from an investment standpoint, if you're thinking about like trying to transform your Salesforce CPQ to Revenue Cloud, it's going to cost a lot of investment, right? How do you actually justify the investment? It's really reducing the amount of sales to actually spend on their system to really, help them to reduce the amount of time that they have to click through the system. I think having the agent will alleviate a lot of these mending tasks. I think from an adoption standpoint, I think I would say over 50% of the project that is upcoming is related to Agentforce investment as well.
Mm. And also one question, since I saw that recently coming up, especially from executive leaders, right? So they give goals out. So to use AI, that's given to the department leaders, right? So, and they have to implement. Do you see that as well? How prevalent is that with the customers that you work with?
Um, I think most of the customer are trying to be using agent first, I would say.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think anyone would be against it. I think most of the people are seeing the value of using agents. But I would say like from an intelligence perspective, you still have to make corrections because there the hallucination that happens in the agent, that you have to make corrections in order to really best use of the agents, to again like not to overuse it.
Got it. And I think for you, for Slalom and any larger system integrator, right, is a balancing act to balance innovation with operational readiness, right? So especially in larger enterprises, how do you make sure you balance both, right? So we talked about AI, we that's also connected to data cloud, to agents, and all this stuff. How do you balance that with it has to work at the end?
I would say again start with the business case first. What are you actually trying to accomplish using AI? and then define what your outcome you're trying to achieve. And then again, in order to make sure the agent is successfully moving the needle, you have to have a right data in place. And so the data quality in Revenue Cloud especially is going to be very important for the agent to work properly. So in order for any investment, I would say, into the Agentforce for Revenue Cloud, I would recommend to take a look at the data and make sure that it is accurate before you actually trying to implement the agent.
Got it. What's your perspective on how Revenue Cloud fits into the broader quote-to-cash landscape, especially compared to non-Salesforce ecosystems?
I think I'll talk about it just in the beginning. Revenue Cloud is more comprehensive system, more end-to-end. Again, it is not just CPQ anymore. It has contract lifecycle management, it has billing, it has AI in place. So you definitely, from a end-to-end perspective, you don't have to build a lot of integrations because it was fragmented in before. So for Revenue Cloud in the broader quote-to-cash perspective, I think they're the leader in this space because I don't think anyone else really has the end-to-end platform right now.
Hmm. And now, since we're at the end of the year, an important question is, how does the CPQ market look like for you? What are your expectations for 2026? You expect growth, you expect the slum. How do you see the market for next year? The CPQ.
Yeah, I think from a Salesforce CPQ perspective, I think since the announcement last, I would say this year, that it was announced by Salesforce that Salesforce CPQ is going to be end of sales. So a lot of company is looking and evaluating different platforms to see what will be the replacement architecture is going to be. And I think I've come across many projects just trying to do the evaluation and see which one is the best fit. I think what we come to conclusion is, if you again want to invest in one platform across quote cash that can really scale and then enable AI, then Salesforce Revenue Cloud would be a good choice for you. If you are looking for more, again, just for the CPQ portion, if you're looking just for that replacement, there are definitely other options that are available that can be a good choice as well. But yeah, I think this year especially, I've come across a lot of vendor assessment project. Company just trying to really do an assessment. I think a lot of this assessment is going to turn into actual implementation project for the upcoming 2026.
And what kind of growth do you expect for 2026?
Yeah, I think last year was, again, I should say 2025 is, I guess, more assessment year. I would say 2026 is going to be more implementation and there will be more growth again, like because a lot of the feature that Salesforce is upcoming, is already available. And I think, 2026 is going to be a growing year.
Excellent. Then for 2026, I guess you're probably also going to be at the certain industry events. Is there anything that you want our listeners to know about where they can meet you or the Slalom team in the first 3 months of 26?
Yeah, for the first 3 months of the year, I'll be in the Agentforce World Tour. So you can find me in attending those, or you can look for me on LinkedIn. Feel free to drop me a message and talk about anything about quote to cash or Salesforce in general.
Excellent. And for any of our listeners who want to follow up with you, what's a good way for them to contact you beside LinkedIn?
You can contact me on my email at calvin.chow@slalom.com.
Excellent. We will have all this information as always in the show notes. Calvin, thank you very much for making time for the CPQ podcast today.
Thank you. Thank you, Frank.
I'd like to thank everyone for listening and hope you learned something interesting today. If you like the podcast, please go ahead and rate it on iTunes or share it with your friends and colleagues. In the meantime, you can find us online at www.novocpq.com. So long, everyone.